Hello again, everybody. This is Red of Half Century Collecting Sports Cards with another episode showing some of my favorite 400 cards. We are in the 180s. These are the cards from last week. The card we're starting with, number 182, is a 1971 Dave Cash. And you kind of ask why a 1971 Dave Cash. Now, it is a pretty cool card. I actually liked his 76 probably a little bit more because on that card it showed him getting 699 at-bats in one season, something that had never been done before to that time. But what I really want to show is Cash being part of the first all-black lineup from September 1st, 1971. And I was going through old sporting newses that my friend here in town lets me look through, and I actually ran across the box score of that game. Now, I don't have it anymore. I turned in. I was looking. I thought maybe I would because this is September 4th issue, but this showed games from too early. And look, it shows Bill Melton on the cover asking, is he the next or another Jimmy Fox? That one didn't quite turn out, but, you know, you think Fox at that time was only retired for like 25 years. But since I don't have the one with the actual box score, I thought we would still look at, well, here's, you know, this just shows all these box scores and leaders and stuff. And here's an old Pittsburgh game. You can see Clemente there had a 2 for 3 with 4 RBI game, hit a home run. You got the lineup there with Stargell batting fourth. You playing Houston. You got Joe Morgan batting third. Cesar Sidonia, Bob Watson, kind of loaded lineup. Bill Mazeroski actually happened to get his 2000th hit. It says in that game. We got some of the league leaders. Joe Torre, who did win the batting title that year, was leading at this time. This is late August. You got Clemente, Lou Brock, Hank Aaron on the list. Go down, look at home run leaders. Willie Stargell leading the league there, and he ended with 48. Now, Hank Aaron at that time had 32. He must have had a monster September because he ended up with 47. Lou Brock leading the league in runs scored. But anyway, let's get to the Pirates lineup of that day. They had leading off at second base, and he didn't have a 71 card because he didn't come up till later that season. So there's a 72 is from Panama, Rennie Stennett. You got batting second, Gene Clines in center field. Batting third, the legendary right fielder from Puerto Rico, Roberto Clemente. Batting fourth, big power man, ended up winning another World Series in 79. Pops, Willie Stargell. Batting fifth, sweet hitting catcher, Manny Sanguin, also from Panama. Batting sixth, we've got the third baseman. Got moved over there. Richie Hebner played a lot of games there, but was hurt this day. Dave Cash played third. Now, all six of those guys we've mentioned were hitting over 300 at the time. So the top six guys over 300. What a lineup. At first base, we had the lefty-lefty matchup. Al Oliver. Now, Bob Robertson played a lot of games as a right-handed hitter at first, but he might have been milking a knee injury that day, and sounds like he was in the doghouse a little bit with Murtaugh. And then batting eighth, we've got Jackie Hernandez from Cuba at shortstop. And on the mound, we've got all-star pitcher Doc Ellis. So a lineup Danny Murtaugh put together against lefty Woody Fryman. Now Murtaugh, players insist that he probably had no idea he was throwing out an all-black lineup that day. Doc Ellis was talking about it. Rennie Stennett said he noticed it in the second inning and kind of yelled over to Al Oliver at first that, hey, we're just a bunch of brothers out here, you know, the whole team. And Manny Sanguin noticed it, and they kind of noticed it as the game went along. Now, Doc Ellis didn't last very long. He went an inning and 2/3 and was knocked out. Had given up 7 runs already. But the Pirates scored 5 in the first and 3 in the second, so they actually took an 8-7 lead. Bob Moose came in, and then they kept the all-black lineup when Bob Veal came in, who actually got the win. Pirates won the game 10-7. But the big pitcher of the day was Luke Walker, who came in and threw the last 6 innings. Quite a save. Now, that was quite a year for the Pirates, 71. They ended up facing this monster team that had 4 20-game winners. See, manager Earl Reaver, Dave McNally, Jim Palmer, Mike Cuellar, Pat Dobson, and this was the favorite team in the World Series. Had a lineup with the Robinsons, Boo Powell, Paul Blair, as well as Don Buford. They had a loaded lineup. And it went 7 games. It was a great World Series. Clemente had just an awesome World Series. See him on the game number 4 card. And it went 7 games in a 7-game, 2-1 game that Steve Blass went the distance. And you can see that the Pirates celebrate winning the 1971 World Series. So next, we are going to go to, let's set back up, my next card. And it is a beauty, a 1975 rookie card, one that I've always really liked, pulled out of a pack back in 75, and that is 18-year-old Robin Yount. 18-year-old this whole rookie season, played as the Brewers starting shortstop in 74, and then ended up with quite a career, 20-year career that was all with the Brewers. Just a consistent shortstop, and then later a center fielder. Had that monster year in 1982 when he led Milwaukee to their only World Series. That year he had 10.5 WAR and won the MVP as a 26-year-old. He did win a second MVP as well in 1989 at age 33. At that time was a center fielder. He retired with over 3,100 hits, 583 doubles, 126 triples, 251 homers, and a 77.4 WAR. And when I did my all-time greatest shortstops, he was in my top 10. Robin Yount. Okay, next, we're going to go back to 1906. And this is a fan craze card, kind of like playing cards, and this is of Joe McGinnity. Now, Joe came up in 1899 as a 28-year-old, so a 28-year-old rookie, and he also happened to win 28 games that year, won 28 games the next year as well. He only played 10 years in the majors, and the first 8 of those, he won over 20 games. Had a year where he won 35 with only 8 losses and a 1.61 ERA. Bunch of those leading the league. Also led the league in innings pitched that year with 408. And that was with the New York Giants. Who he's with on this card. In 06. He won 27 games this year as well. His only World Series year was 1905. And on that team, he was the number 2 pitcher next to Christy Mathewson. They had a great shortstop, probably the best player not in the Hall of Fame, maybe of all time, Bill Dolan, who has 75 WAR. And they also had a rookie that got into 1 game in June that year, but he never got to bat. They said he might have been the fastest player in the majors, even though he was only there for 1 game. And his name was Archibald Moonlight Graham. And he also happened to moonlight as a physician, so they're wondering if he got his nickname that way or if he got it because he was so fast. But he practiced medicine for 40 years in Chisholm, Minnesota, and of course was in a famous movie, Field of Dreams. Back to McGinnity. McGinnity had a 10-year career, and in that career he won 246 games, only lost 142, with a 2.66 career ERA. So, fan craze, that's what the back looked like. An art card, they call it. Next, we are going to 1957 and that reverse negative card of Hank Aaron. Now, Aaron, probably the closest he ever really got to batting left-handed was when he came up. He was a cross-handed batter, and he showed up as an 18-year-old with the Indianapolis Clowns, who he had just signed a contract with in the Negro Leagues, batting cross-handed, and that's where they switched him. You know, at the time, they probably could have switched him to a lefty, but they didn't. They switched him to a righty. This is what he would have looked like if he had hit lefty. But that year, he only played 26 games with the Indianapolis, and he hit 366 and led them to the National League Championship. Their season ended in June, so after that June, he got offers from the New York Giants and the Boston Braves. The Braves gave him the better offer, and that's who he signed with and had that great career. This card from 1957 was his only MVP season. Probably should have won a few more, but this was actually the only year he won it. Year that his team won the World Series, beating the Yankees. You can see the back of his card there after he signed with the Braves in that 52 season at age 18. Went to the Northern League in Eau Claire. So after hitting 366 in the Negro Leagues, he ended up with those big-time stats in the Northern League. Next year's a 19-year-old. You can see that he hit 362 in the minors. And then at age 20, he was called up. Other kind of cool thing I thought from looking at the back of this card where they talk about him in the story is how they talk him as, you know, during 1 week in the season, got red hot, skyrocked his average 42 points, and then they say a real speedster. Led the NL in most hits, doubles, and placed third in slugging. So they kind of brought out that he was a speedster. Right, little did they know he was going to end up being the all-time home run king at the time. All right, last card we're going to show for the day is a football card of Dave Deacon Jones. This is his 1969 Topps. Now, Jones was a 14th round draft pick back in 61, and he probably ended up being the best LA Ram of all time. Heart and soul of that fearsome foursome that included another Hall of Famer, Merlin Olsen, as well as Rosie Greer and Lamar Lundy. And he's the guy who coined the term quarterback sack. Before that, they never really called it that. They probably just called it tackling the quarterback. But Jones did it so often that he called it quarterback sack. Fact, they didn't really keep track of sacks, but looking back at film, he had 22 sacks in a 12-game season in 1964. Then the next year, 19, the next year, 18, the next year, 21 and a half, the next year, 22, this 69 season, 15. So just tremendous amount. I mean, those be leading the league every year, like all-time leader type stuff. He was, when he retired, the all-time leader in sacks, and they said he would be third now all-time, except they didn't really keep track of him when he played, so not sure if they all really counted. He also was an actor, and I remember seeing him in the Brady Bunch, but he was in The Odd Couple, Bewitched, and he was kind of Alf's father figure on the TV show Alf. So Deacon Jones, who George Allen, his coach, says Jones is the best defensive end in the NFL. And at that time, still going to improve. All right, that's all I have for the day. Bring my cash over here. So these are my official cards from this time. Last time I'll show those from last time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Great watching. Hopefully you guys have been watching some playoffs. First day of divisional playoffs. Today's got to see Shohei hit a 3-run homer in the first inning. What a season he's had. Enjoy some baseball, and we'll see you again next week.